My guest is Florida Commissioner of Agriculture Adam Putnam, and we love to grade things in Florida. So give us your grade of Governor Scott, his first term in office.
Well, I think when you look at a state government that 5 years ago, a state that 5 years ago was the epicenter of the real estate collapse, bankruptcies and foreclosures, and now today you've gone from 12% unemployment to 7% unemployment under Rick Scott's leadership, paid down $3.5 billion in debt, surpassed the 90 million visitor mark in terms of tourism, and maintained an outstanding credit rating among other states in this country. I think that you have to give him a solid A in terms of economic progress, and as somebody who came in as an outsider and a CEO mentality and continues to work to understand the political system and its differences with the boardroom. I think you have to give him a solid B+ overall.
Now, the governor rode into office on opposition to the Affordable Care Act, and then he turns around and supports an expansion of Medicaid under the ACA. The legislature denied that, but some Tea Party groups here in Florida were just livid about that. You called Governor Scott naive on the matter. What's your take on that?
Well, what I said was that you can't, having worn a federal hat for a period of time in public life, there is no free lunch, and so it would be unrealistic to assume that you could take a 3-year 100% federal grant and enroll over 1 million new Floridians in a health insurance benefit that they had not had previously, and then presume that if you don't like the way things are 3 years from now, you're just going to drop them all from coverage. That's not a realistic public policy option. So my view was, if you're going to have a debate about the expansion of Medicaid, it ought to be in the context of understanding that you're looking at a permanent realignment of entitlement commitments in the state of Florida.
Now, for House Speaker Will Weatherford, the numbers just didn't add up, but he added that he didn't trust the federal government to be good for that money, that federal money.
Well, in his observation, I think, was rooted in the fact that if Congress ever does get serious about managing their budget woes, their fiscal woes, they can't afford to match the promises that they're making to the states. That if they are ever going to get serious about entitlements, and the sequestration is an example of one step forward or one attempt at getting those costs contained, that's an example of they're not going to be able to afford to keep their promises to the states, whether it's on the Medicaid piece of it or other health care commitments or other education commitments that they've made to the states. Those agreements are going to have to change if the federal government is ever going to get serious about reining in their budget deficits.
Now, some would say that you haven't been as consistent as you could have been when you were in Congress, pointing to your vote to expand a Medicare prescription drug program, $1 trillion over a decade. Is that a fair criticism?
Well, certainly my record is fair, and I'm happy to have that conversation. But the expansion of the Medicare program, the modernization of the Medicare program to include the role that prescription drugs now play, is something I'm happy to have that debate with anyone. You can't have a healthcare system subsidized by the federal government that says we will pay to amputate your leg that you lose due to diabetes, but we're not going to help you pay for insulin that would prevent you from losing your leg.
Heritage Foundation just last week issued a report that said cash for clunkers did nothing more than delay the purchase of cars, did not impact the economy. You voted for it. Do you stand by that? And if you could go back, would you change your vote?
I think when you look at the context of the 08 crisis, 09 crisis, and the efforts that were being made to salvage the global economy, that's one that I would take a second look at, because the idea at the time behind that program was you had thousands of dealerships, which are really Main Street level businesses. This was not bailing out Detroit, something I did not support. This was creating an incentive for people who were debating whether or not to make a major purchase and therefore help the economy.
You saw it as an infusion of sales taxes into the economy.
Yeah, at one time, Florida's sales tax revenue, 20 to 25% of it was rooted in car sales. So the decline, the collapse in the sale of vehicles was having a disproportionate effect on our state. And it was a situation where it was an attempt to get people moving money again because everyone was really hoarding the cash that they had out of fear for everything that was going on in the global economy.
This is a Florida Matters Newsmaker special. Commissioner of Agriculture Adam Putnam is my guest. We'd love to hear from you on our Facebook page or at WUSFnews.org. I'm Kirsten Cooper. This is Florida Matters.